All right, this FYF Sports Man is Lamont. We back with another Friday weekly breakdown show. Today's been a crazy week so far. Probably going to get even crazier with free agency. Free agency sets to start in the NBA on the 20th. So we got a lot of topics to cover today. We got a lot of stories to cover. A lot of information to get out there. We got show news. We got NBA news. We got a little bit of political news as well. So we're going to jump right into everything. Before we get started, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you have not done so already. The growth of the channel, it's in an upward trend. We're almost at 16K subscribers. Obviously, the goal is to 20K. Looking towards that 100K. That's the major goal. So hopefully we can get there. We can only get there with your support. So we appreciate the likes, comments, the shares, and all the donations. Your support will make it FYF Sports relevant on YouTube. But today we got a lot of stuff to cover. As you guys know, we just did the NBA draft live. The NBA draft was, for the most part, uneventful. Not a lot really went on. We were expecting those blockbuster deals to really go down, and that didn't happen. We saw some minor moves. I think teams are kind of setting themselves up to potentially make some major moves in free agency. We saw some issues with one of the trades that the Milwaukee Bucks made. We're going to be breaking that down later. We really got to discuss how that trade broke down and what fell apart, and why the NBA is investigating that. So, I think for the most part, and we're going to be doing a separate show. We're going to be doing a draft review show. We're going to be reviewing the top 14 picks of the draft. We're going to give each team our grades on how they selected. I think there were a few surprises. Guys like Nico Mannion dropped way lower than I thought he would. When we saw Patrick Williams get drafted at the 4th spot, that surprised everybody right there. The Knicks, I think the Knicks, I've kind of seen 50-50 on it, with Obi Toppin getting drafted right there. I think fans, because he's a hometown player, he's from that area. I think you got people who absolutely love it, but then you also have the basketball heads that say they absolutely needed a point guard. I don't know, maybe the Knicks have something up their sleeve. Maybe there's a point guard out there that they can go get in free agency. I don't see the point guard out there, but they definitely have a lot of questions they need to answer on that roster. But again, make sure you guys tune in. We're going to be dropping our draft review show tomorrow. That's going to be dropping tomorrow morning, so make sure you tune in tomorrow morning to check that out as well. So again, I don't want to dive too deep into the draft right now. We kind of all have an idea of what happened, but I do want to talk about some of the moves that teams are making post-draft, so that we can see who's trying to maneuver or put themselves in a position to maybe sign some free agents when free agency opens up tomorrow. But let's get to the biggest story today, and this is a story that unfortunately, I really didn't want to talk about the Klay Thompson situation. It's just a very sad situation. I hate to see guys go down with major injuries. Regardless if you love the player or you hate the player, whenever you see a guy come back from a major injury, he looks like he's primed to go, ready to get back on the court, and then he gets hit with another major injury to follow it up. We saw it happen to John Wall. We saw it happen to DeMarcus Cousins, and we saw what it did to DeMarcus Cousins' career. We have yet to see what it's going to do to John Wall's career. He looks like he's back and healthy, but we don't know how he looks in an NBA setting, in an NBA game. So hopefully Klay Thompson can back up. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Adrian Wojnarowski. We're going to go over to that video over there. We're going to see what he has to say on it. He has a little bit more information, and then I also want to know, what is the backup plan going to be for the Warriors? Obviously injuries happen, and the best teams in the NBA are the teams that can always have a plan, not a panic, but have a plan when these issues happen. So let's go ahead and get over here to Adrian Wojnarowski. We're going to check out this clip right here. We're going to see what he has to say on the issue, what the Warriors plan to do, if they plan to do anything, and will they still be competitive going into the 2021 season.
Kaminsky joins me now with the very latest on this story that's shocking on so many levels, Woj. And there was some initial optimism coming from the Warriors regarding the severity of Klay's injury, and then the bad news came down. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, he had the imaging in Southern California today, and a clean tear of his right Achilles. And I talked to his agent, Greg Lawrence, who said, there's optimism about how this will heal, that they expect he'll be able to heal 100%. He'll be ready for the start of next season. But this is a blow to Klay Thompson, to the Warriors. He just finished a rigorous rehab on the ACL injury that kept him out all of last year. And now mentally he's got to get prepared for what's a more difficult rehab with the Achilles.
So let's remember that the Warriors went to 5 straight NBA Finals, right? And then the league's worst record last season. And then they dropped James Wiseman 2nd overall last night. And then the Klay news, losing him for a year. What a roller coaster ride for this franchise, Woj. So what are their options moving forward? And of course, we reported the news about the possibility of Kelly Oubre coming over.
Yeah, that Kelly Oubre deal is going to get done. They're finalizing it. He's coming from Oklahoma City. Think of this, though. You talk about the commitment in Golden State to win. He's got a $14 million salary. They're absorbing it into a trade exception. So they're going to send picks back. But the luxury tax bill on that $14 million is an $80 million bill for Golden State. Kelly Oubre will be an $80 million player for them next season. Now, he doesn't replace Klay Thompson, but given what's on the market, there's a shortage of good shooting guards in free agency. I think they maximize what was out there. He's a good player, but Klay Thompson's a Hall of Famer. And certainly synonymous with that Warrior dynasty.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way to replace him. So what other options besides Oubre, or would that be it based on the salary, the $80 million?
Yeah, they're going to have the biggest luxury tax bill in NBA history. I think right now, around, I think in the neighborhood of 130 million plus. I don't know if there's much more they can bring on, especially in a climate where the Warriors have those luxury seats. They're the most lucrative in the league, and they may not be able to have any fans, at least for the start of the NBA season.
Exactly. Remember, this is the problem for all teams, but in particular, with an injury like this, we're only 12 days away from training camp beginning when the Warriors get this news. So, Woj, keep us up to date on Oubre and anything else.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, and there we have it right there. Klay Thompson out for the season with a torn right Achilles. That's something that we don't really have to discuss. We know the impacts of tearing your Achilles. We know how damaging that can be, and we know the trials and tribulations that can come with, just bouncing back. Just we saw Kevin Durant do it. He looks like he's primed and ready to go. I have all the confidence in the world that Klay Thompson will get back healthy for the 21-22 season. So the one thing that I like about this right here, when injuries like this happen, a team can do one or two things. A team can try to prevail. They can be, they can show intestinal fortitude and fight, and they can find a way to make it work with the guys that they have with that next man up mentality, or they can fold and they can find every reason in the world to tank, sit guys, and try not to be competitive. Hopefully, get into the lottery and try to, try to come back next year with an even stronger roster. What I like that the Warriors are doing, the Warriors are basically putting the NBA on notice right now. They're putting the NBA on notice right there. They're basically saying, even without Klay Thompson, we think we can still win a championship. And when you look at their roster, I honestly think they have a roster strong enough now with the trade of Kelly Oubre to compete for an NBA championship. Let's pull up their roster right here. We're gonna break it down player by player. We're gonna look for strengths and weaknesses, and let's just see what they, let's see how they can compete in the West. But let's pull up that roster right here. All right, so when we're looking at this Golden State Warriors roster, obviously last year worst record in the NBA. It was everybody's belief that they had a lot of holes to fill. And I think they're in a situation where with a couple of veterans to fill out that bench, they can really put themselves in a position to make a really deep playoff run. And even with the loss of Klay Thompson, I'm going to break down to you guys why I feel the Golden State Warriors are still one of the top 6 teams in the league that can actually contend to make the NBA Finals. So we got a backup point guard in Kai Bowman. I think he's really a third string point guard. He shouldn't be your second point guard coming off the bench. I think that's something that they're going to have to try to find a way to figure out. A guy like Jeff Teague, who's out there in free agency, we know he's looking to be on a competitive team. He may be willing to take a little less money to join a contending team. He would be a great backup point guard in this particular situation. But there are other guys out there. There are other guys out there that they could sign. When you're looking at the likes of Avery Bradley, even oddly enough, there's a Rajon Rondo floating around out there. I don't think they have the money to sign a guy like that. But the point of this is that Kai Bowman, this is probably, as far as bench depth goes, this is going to be your biggest hole. Now, he is serviceable. He gave Golden State some great minutes. I like what he can do. I like what he can bring. But, again, that's something you're going to have to improve. Marquise Chris is somebody that the Golden State Warriors are extremely high on. They're really high on this guy. He has, he had some down years in the NBA to start his career, but he's blossomed with, last year he showed a lot of signs of promise. Obviously, with all the injuries, you're not going to see the effects of what he can do with regards to winning, but he showed a lot of things defensively and offensively that lets me know that he could be a great center or power forward coming off the bench for this team. Obviously, we got Steph Curry and Draymond Green. All right, we got Steph Curry and Draymond Green. These are gonna be your two glue guys. With Draymond Green, top 3 defender in the NBA, one of the best point forwards in the NBA. He's gonna be the motor. He's gonna be what makes this team go. This team is going to go as Draymond Green goes. So if Draymond Green can jumpstart this season with a lot of positivity, high energy, and a lot of motivation, especially for the new guys, I think that will be something that could really bolster the confidence of some of these guys to really push them over the edge as far as being a contender. We got a newcomer right here. We got Justinian Jessup. This is the rookie, one of the rookies that they drafted. Don't know much about him. I like the length that he has here from the few highlights that I did see. It looks like he can defend multiple positions and a very solid shooter. He'll fit in really well. I just don't expect him to be an instant impact player this year. When we look at a guy like Damian Lee, now they signed him to a new contract. Damian Lee is going to be great. He's going to be great coming off the bench for this team. They wouldn't have re-signed him. I loved what he was able to bring. Obviously, the length again. He's a 6'5" shooting guard, probably with a 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. Great defender. Great. He can make shots. He's another guy coming off the bench that can come in and give him some very solid minutes. Kevin Looney, one of the better defenders on this team, along with Draymond Green. They're going to help make this team elite defensively again. He's extremely underrated. Kevin Looney is extremely underrated because he's a little bit boring to watch. It is hard to kind of gauge how good he is because you don't see all the flash, you don't see all the points. But the analytics tell you that this guy is extremely invaluable for that team. He looks to be back healthy, so I like what he can bring. Then we got Nico Mannion. The rookie out of Arizona. I mean, this.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Si no le ayuda a la fábrica, el camión le da. Esto me daba pinta con...
They picked up Ed Davis.
Yeah, they got Ed Davis, bro. Yeah. And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
This was a no-brainer right here. I mean, Nico Mannion dropped to the 48th pick in the draft, second round. This is a guard whose dad played in the NBA. He just has pro written all over him. I think he's one of the hidden gems of this draft. I think he's going to surprise some people. He has unbelievably tough work ethic. He's extremely athletic for his size. Extremely high IQ player. So he's a great playmaker and he's a shot maker. So I expect a lot of good things coming out of Nico Mannion. I think he could come in and be a guy. He could be a Tyler Hero type or Duncan Robinson type. More so the Tyler Hero type. The guy who can come in, play make, give some electrifying minutes, and then go back to the bench. We got Michael Mueller, a solid bench player. A solid bench player. Haven't seen much of him. Hope to see more of him this year. Again, I think he's more of a G League guy, more of a developmental type guy. Now we got Eric Pascal. Eric Pascal is going to be one of the primary guys coming off the bench for the Warriors. I think he's coming now, being a second-year player, playing behind Draymond, playing with Steph. I think he's going to be a big piece of what the Golden State Warriors do defensively. Again, just another guy. What the positive things that he brings to a team. It's not going to always show up on the stat sheet, but he's going to make winning plays. He's going to make winning shots. And that's all you can ask for, especially when you're talking about a team, and you're looking forward to making a deep playoff run. Jordan Poole's going to be, he's another great young player, can definitely make shots, plays a little wild sometimes. Hopefully that's something he can clean up coming out of this offseason. We got Allen Smolic. I like him. He's a big, he can shoot. Again, I don't think he's the go-to big that you need to rely on, but as the third big on this team, I like what he can bring in spot minutes. He's solid. He's going to be a great practice guy. Klay Thompson, obviously, we know he's out for the entire year. And then we got Juan Anderson. I like this guy. Juan Anderson's pretty solid. He showed a little flash last year, but again, he's another guy that I think he's going to be more so of a G League developmental type guy. And if someone goes down, they'll bring him up. We got Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins right here. This guy's a 20-point scorer. Now, if you can get this guy to buy in defensively, he can be elite for you. He can be an elite. He can be that second or third scorer that you need to help Steph, to relieve pressure off Steph. And again, he's an effortless scorer. He makes it look easy sometimes. It's just about getting him to buy in defensively. And with a guy like Draymond Green, with Andrew Wiggins' intangibles, he's a 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan. We know this guy can defend if necessary. He can defend when motivated. And hopefully the winning culture of the Celtics can get this guy. And then obviously we have the draft pick, James Wiseman. James Wiseman, unbelievably talented. Although there's a lot of unknowns about his game, he comes in from the draft with one of the highest ceilings, athletic, can make the mid-range shot. He's easily the best defender at the center, at power forward center position coming out of this draft. So he's going to give them that instant wing protection. So when you're looking at a starting lineup of Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and with the introduction of a new player, they just traded for Kelly Oubre. So Kelly Oubre now is a Golden State Warrior. I'm amazed at what they were able to give up to get this guy. And the move to get Kelly Oubre shows me that they're in a win now mode. Because trading for Kelly Oubre, they had to use that trade exception. So they had to use $14 million of that trade exception. And that's going to cost the Warriors more than that $14 million. As we just heard Adrian Wojnarowski talk about. It's going to cost the Golden State Warriors. It's going to cost them about $80 million in luxury tax just to bring him on. And the Golden State Warriors don't do that unless they're telling everybody, look, we're still in win now mode. And Kelly Oubre is a great player. He's a great player where I thought he was a little held back in Washington. We saw him break out of his shell in Phoenix, but he's still playing behind a Devin Booker. I think he's learned. And now he has a chance to play for an organization like the Golden State Warriors. The man can score the ball on all three levels. He can defend, and one thing that I like most about Kelly Oubre is he's a high-level competitor. He's not backing down from nobody. He's taking any and all assignments, and if you add that to the winning culture of the Golden State Warriors. If you look at this starting lineup, when you have a Steph Curry, Kelly Oubre at the 2, or Andrew Wiggins at the 2, Kelly Oubre at the 3, Draymond Green at the 4, and then James Wiseman at the 5. You're talking about incredible length. Now with that lineup right there, shot making will be an issue. Can Kelly Oubre be a consistent 3-point shooter? Can Andrew Wiggins space the floor more? At the end of the day, you got elite level players on the court. You're gonna instantly be elite defensively. It's gonna be about those guys off the bench. Can Eric Pascal come in next season and repeat what he did his rookie campaign? Can Damian Lee come in and be consistent and give that same impact that he gave last year? Those are the questions that we need answered. And the one hole that they have on this roster is at the backup point guard position. Who are they going to bring in to be the backup point guard? They need a solid backup point guard to run that second unit, because Steph Curry is going to need some relief. He's going to need some relief because he's going to have a lot to carry this year. He's going to have to carry a large load. And again, I like the fact that they're actually looking to be competitive and they're in win now mode. So with the addition of Kelly Oubre, I still have the Golden State Warriors. I still have the Golden State Warriors as one of the top teams in the West. All right, next up we got to talk about James Harden. This is a really sticky situation with James Harden and the Houston Rockets. It's really got to the point where Adrian Wojnarowski just reported that James Harden definitely wants out of Houston. Russell Westbrook definitely wants out of Houston. But the Houston Rockets are not going to relent easily. They're not going to trade this guy unless they absolutely get every demand that they are asking for. They want high-level players back in return. They want draft picks in return. Because what they're not going to do, what I like about the Rockets is they're not going to put themselves back in a rebuild mode just because a player wants to get traded. As they've stated, they're going to allow it to get ugly. They're going to allow this to get ugly. They're going to put those guys in an uncomfortable situation. And again, it's really crazy. Hold on, let's listen in on what Adrian Wojnarowski has to say about this James Harden situation.
Go do something right away. They could. I think especially in the case of Harden, you want to build, if you're going to trade James Harden, you've got to get a monstrous return. You've got to maximize whatever that return is. And usually that happens over time of building the market. Some team starts the season not as playing as well as they thought and feels like they've got to do something. There's all these circumstances that take over once the team starts playing games. But with players of that caliber, even like Russell Westbrook, who has a supermax contract, it's easier to trade the supermax guys for the supermax guys. It's harder to piece together all the contracts and all the things it takes when the numbers are that high. So typically it takes a while, but we've also seen in plenty of cases where things can come together quickly on a draft night. But I don't sense that's the case today. But I've also done this long enough to know it can change in a moment.
Woj is with me here on ESPN Radio. You mentioned the draft. As you say, that is tonight. What are a thing or two that you think fans should be watching closely as we work our way towards 7:30 Eastern tonight?
Well, what happens if
there we have it right there. This James Harden situation has just been really disappointing me. I want you guys to let me know in the comments, what do you think about this James Harden situation? Because you would think that James Harden would appreciate the fact that the Houston Rockets have went above and beyond to try to make this a competitive roster. On top of the fact that they've done some things that James Harden has requested. When the Houston Rockets were one game away from being in the NBA Finals with Chris Paul, James Harden couldn't get along with Chris Paul. He told the team to get rid of him. They get rid of Chris Paul. They bring in one of his best friends. They bring in Russell Westbrook. Things are looking great. They're playing great. The team is meshing well. They've switched to small ball. They're having success with it. The pandemic hits. They come back and they look even better than before. All right, they go into the NBA bubble playoffs as the best defensive team in the league. That even surprised Mike D'Antoni. that they were actually playing defense at an elite level. I mean, everything was rolling in the right direction for this team. All right. One bad playoff series against the Los Angeles Lakers essentially derailed everything that they had going. And this is what I talk about when teams go into panic mode. You lose one playoff series to a great team, not to the Nuggets, not to the Jazz, not to the Blazers. You lost to the team that won it all. A team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, two of the top 5 players in the NBA. That's nothing to really hang your hat on. At the end of the day, you just have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, this is what we have on the roster. How can we tweak this so that we can now be more competitive? You know, we see a lot of teams making moves. We see how the Milwaukee Bucks, even though they're over the luxury tax, finding a way to make moves to get that roster better. We just watched the Golden State Warriors. We watched how the Golden State Warriors are willing to go deep into the luxury tax and pay a record-breaking luxury tax number just to bring in a guy like Kelly Oubre to get more competitive. Why can we not see the Rockets make those sacrifices to keep this team competitive? I think this is one of the gripes that James Harden has with the team. But at the end of the day, over the past years, I've seen the Rockets organization try a number of different things to make this roster competitive. And at the end of the day, it hasn't really been coaching. It hasn't been the front office. It's really been the players. Now we can blame coaching. We can blame analytics for the fact that they shot 27 3-pointers in that game 7. All right, but the one thing we also need to note is that Chris Paul, the point guard that actually changed that series, was out with a hamstring injury. Had he played, I honestly believe they would have beat the Golden State Warriors in that game 7, and they would have went on to win the NBA championship that year. That would have changed the entire look of this roster, and the Chris Paul trade may never happen if that's the case. If he doesn't pull his hamstring. So I think this is just about the James Harden making a choice to go partner up with one of his friends, and you know, I think it's sad. Houston's been a great organization. They've went above and beyond. They even went as far as offering James Harden a $103 million extension for 2 years. That means he's making over $50 million a year, highest individual salary in a single season for an NBA player, and he passed it up solely because he wants to get traded to go play with one of his buddies. And the funny thing is that these reports are indicating that he wants to get traded to the Nets or the Sixers. Now the Sixers, yes, I can understand that, but to the Nets, that you know, for me, that's more of an indictment on Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant, if you wanted to stick around and stay with a super team, you should have just stayed with Golden State. That was your super team, right? You had Klay, you had Steph, you had Draymond, you had yourself. And the Golden State Warriors had already indicated that they would have went deep into the luxury tax to keep everyone. But now you go to the Nets where you say you want to do it on your own, you want to pave your own way. But as soon as you get over to the Nets, now we see that you're looking to build a super team of your own. It wasn't necessarily about you trying to do it yourself or you trying to do it your own way. You were just fed up with that situation. You know, was it because you weren't getting enough attention? Was it because Golden State gave a little too much love to Steph Curry? At the end of the day, I think this entire situation falls back on Kevin Durant and really puts an indictment on his character, right? Because he's the one that left the super team to go join the Nets, a lesser powerhouse, and now he's essentially turning them into the next powerhouse super team for whatever reason. So again, I just don't understand it. I don't understand the timing of it. The same with Russell Westbrook. He's also requested a trade. He has probably one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Teams aren't even seriously making any offers for him. I mean, this is to tell you how bad his contract is. The Sixers were able to trade Al Horford's terrible contract for Danny Green before Russell Westbrook gets traded. The New York Knicks don't even want to give up assets to bring in a Russell Westbrook. That's how That's how bad your reputation has gotten with regards to your style of play and the impact that it has on the guys around you. And that's not a good indication. That's not a good sign for the type of basketball that you play when the Knicks are willing to pass on you. When the Knicks are willing to pass on you because they don't feel that their assets are worth giving up for you. That's an indictment on you, your game, Russell Westbrook. So I mean, it's getting messy in Houston. With Steve Silas coming in, this is a very tricky situation for him. I honestly think that this year with Steve Silas should be a wash. This first year should not be held against him because this is not the situation that he wanted to walk into. He got hired into a job where he was under the impression that he would be coaching James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and that same core group, maybe give or take a few guys, because we just saw Austin Rivers opt out to go into free agency. We saw Robert Covington get traded. I mean, obviously there are going to be a few moves, but it looks like Houston right now, if they can't have Harden or Westbrook, it looks like they're going to try everything possible to tear this roster down to make sure they're under the luxury tax. So they're the opposite of the Warriors, even though they have two former MVPs, as opposed to building around them to try to put together a team that can win, maybe go into the luxury tax, cost yourself some money. They're just stripping everything down to the bare minimum, and they're just going to allow Harden and Westbrook to go out there and play with a bunch of bums until they can find a trade destination for them. And I think that's a horrendous move. I think the Rockets are blowing a great opportunity. I think they had an opportunity to be great, and they are 100% blowing an opportunity when you got two former MVPs on your roster. And all you're missing is a center. Not a great center, just a solid veteran center that can show up your front line. All right. Better defense on the wing position, and you'll be fine. Unfortunately, it looks like the Houston Rockets are just headed down that path of least resistance, and it looks like they're going to be the next team to try to tank away a season for draft picks, because that 2021 draft is primed to be one of the best draft classes that we've seen in NBA history. So I definitely look forward to seeing where James Harden might land. I just don't like the circumstances in which he's trying to pursue this type of trade. I'm just absolutely opposed to it. And for me, it's more of an indictment on Kevin Durant, because we see what Kyrie Irving said. Kyrie Irving came out and stated, I don't want him here. And understandably so, but we know that it's in Kevin Durant's DNA to want to pair up with super teams, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And again, you guys have heard my take on super teams. I'm fine with super teams because it just makes. But don't act like you wanted to leave Golden State to pave and do your own thing when that was never the case. Just be honest about the fact that you just wanted to leave Golden State because you weren't getting the attention that you desired, and Brooklyn's giving you that attention. And you guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this situation with James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving? You know, we were all predicting that this situation could potentially implode and blow up in everybody's face. We were all predicting that. And it looks like if they make this trade for James Harden, that it's really going to blow up in their face, because you're going to have a disgruntled Kyrie. And we all know how Kyrie Irving can shut down when he's disgruntled. So it's just a toxic mix. I would much rather see James Harden go to the Philadelphia 76ers, although, I don't think the Sixers have the pieces necessary to trade for James Harden, at least based on what Houston's asking for. So I think Houston's just going to be in for a long and hard season with their two stars wanting out of the city. All right, so when the NBA draft started, the NBA draft actually, it kind of teased us all. We were all thinking that this would be one of the craziest, most eventful drafts that we've seen in years, trades all over the place. And it actually started off with a fairly epic trade, to say the least, because the Philadelphia 76ers were able to pull off some moves. I think they were the absolute winners of the day in the trade. absolute winners of the day. Got one of the biggest steals. Got one of the biggest steals in Maxey from Kentucky. But they also were able to do some things that nobody thought they can do. The first thing that they did successfully was they finally got rid of the Al Horford contract. Easily the worst contract in the NBA right now. Great for Al Horford. Horrible for the Sixers in the cap space, especially going into the next 3 years. So luckily they were able to trade Al Horford for Danny Green. I'm going to let Adrian Wojnarowski break down the details of that particular trade. It was absolutely crazy how they were able to piece this deal together to kind of revamp this roster. I think it gives them a lot of things that I've been talking about in the past. But before we even touch on all that, let's hear what Wojnarowski has to say about the trade, and then we're going to break it down ourselves.
Started with a Woj bomb. We've got a trade breaking news coming in. Daryl Morey's wasted no time putting his fingerprints on the Sixers roster. The new Philly GM traded Al Horford and his big contract along with a 2025 first-round pick and a second-round pick, 34th overall, to the Thunder for Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. And there are a lot of things to break down here when you look at this trade, because last offseason the Sixers made the big storylines, the headlines by bringing in Horford. Let's bring in Woj right now. Why did the Sixers decide to make this move tonight?
Kevin, brings them back some athleticism, some scoring. Certainly Danny Green, shooting guard who came into the Thunder from the Lakers. Terrence Ferguson, a young wing. And they get off the remaining 3 years of Al Horford's significant free agent contract. And for the Sixers, this is a chance now, to kind of keep reshaping the pieces around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And for the Thunder, that makes 17 future first-round picks. They are in position, and tonight, 3 picks in the first and among the top 34.
Yeah, Sam Presti's going to just toss to himself as the draft continues in the next couple of years on draft night here. So what's next here for Daryl Morey and Philly? When they clear up some of this room, they still save some money, a ton of money next year and the following year. What does this now mean for the roster moves, especially with all the rumors of James Harden?
Well, listen, they're in a position now where they have committed, certainly in the short term, of building around Embiid, building around Simmons. And Doc Rivers starting to shape a roster that he wants to play with a style he wants to play. And listen, the Sixers, it is unclear whether they're going to be big game hunting in this offseason. It feels right now like they're going to continue to keep trying to find complementary pieces around their 2 franchise players.
That big game hunting, that was a very famous line last offseason in Philadelphia. We'll see how this plays out.
That's Adrian Wojnarowski on the Al Horford trade. Now, obviously, there was another player involved in this trade that also got sent to Philadelphia as well, Terrence Ferguson, athletic wing from OKC. I think he was a bit disappointing. He never really panned out the way OKC thought he would. He kind of got passed up by some of the other young guys there. He still has promise. He's still young. He's lengthy. He can defend. He's streaky with regards to shooting the ball, but he can be better. I like the addition of that guy as well. So the 76ers are doing exactly what I've said that they should do. Don't panic. Don't get rid of your 2 stars. Don't tell your stars, primarily Ben Simmons, don't harp on the fact that he can't necessarily shoot the greatest. You supplement that by putting the players around him that actually can shoot. Because other than shooting, Ben Simmons can do everything else on the court. He can pass. He can defend. He can play make. He can drive. He can finish. I mean, literally, outside of shooting and offense doesn't make up everything in the game. Like, you don't have to be able to shoot consistently to be great. All right. And especially when you're dealing with a young guy like Ben Simmons, just allow him to develop that on his own. I think it's just a mental block. And once he gets over that particular mental block, it's lights out for the NBA. You're looking at the next potential LeBron James in the making if the man can develop any semblance of a jump shot. So you don't trade that type of talent. You build around it. And I like how they were able to build around it. They actually made a second trade that on draft day as well. They also traded for Seth Curry from the Dallas Mavericks. They gave up Josh Richardson and some draft picks to bring in Seth. I like that trade as well. So, again, now you're bringing in Danny Green, an experienced guy who's won championships. You're bringing in Seth Curry, led the league in three-point field goal percentage, so you know he's a sniper. This is what they were missing last year. They unfortunately let Shamet go. They let J.J. Redick walk out the door. They let Ersan Ilyasova go. They had all the shooting that they need, and they allowed all their best shooters to walk right out the door. So now they have an opportunity to recoup some of that. And with Tyrese Maxey, the draft pick, a lot of us had Tyrese Maxey as a lottery pick. Tyrese Maxey dropped all the way to 21 to the Sixers, and I think that was the steal of the draft. That was the absolute steal of the draft. I know Doc Rivers has the love that they were able to get this guy at 21, because I think he's going to be a starter with that team. He's going to be a starter with that team, and if you could put him alongside a guy like Ben Simmons, you can pair him up with Joel Embiid. Hopefully Joel Embiid can come back healthy. The 76ers are one of the teams that I have in contention to win a championship next year. So again, like I said, the draft, in regards to all of these blockbuster trades that we had been hoping for, uneventful for the most part, but with free agency looming, I think when free agency starts, we're gonna see the big moves happen. We're gonna see we're gonna run down the list of just some minor moves that happened throughout the day. Just to refresh you guys, this is gonna give you an indication of things to come as soon as free agency window opens up for these NBA teams. All right, and some lesser NBA moves. Again, these are just teams that are just maybe maneuvering to make bigger deals. We got the Rockets, who exercised a $1.8 million option on David Nwaba, the shooting guard. I like what he can do. He just really hasn't a real opportunity. Celtics trade Vince Poirier to the Thunder for a second-round pick. The Knicks acquired Ed Davis for 2 second-round picks from the Jazz. So, getting Ed Davis, obviously, they didn't pick up the option on Bobby Porter, so he's out of there. They did pick up the option on Elfrid Payton, so he's out of there as well. So they've lost 2 players there. So I think the Knicks are looking to bring in some free agents, but all of the help that they would have surrounded these free agents with, they're letting walk. I think the Knicks should have definitely picked up the option on Bobby Porter's, even though that $15 million is a lot. And you got all the salary cap space in the world. You got to go get a guy like that, because if you do bring in free agents, they're not going to have anybody to play with. All right, but the Celtics pick up their option on Semi Ojeleye. I like Ojeleye. Definitely, I just already knew they would pick up that option. One of their best defenders. Needs to work on his game offensively to make that team better, but that's just not a guy you can allow to walk away. Obviously, the Warriors, serious talks with Kelly Oubre. They have actually already finalized that deal. They finalized that deal with Kelly Oubre. They traded him for a 2021 draft pick from the Minnesota Timberwolves. That draft pick, it looks valuable now, but I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be in the lottery. I don't think they're going to be in the lottery. But, drafting Anthony Edwards, you got D'Angelo Russell, you got Karl Anthony Towns. You just put Malik Beasley on the trade block. You got Jared Culver, who showed a lot of promise. You just brought in Ricky Rubio to be your point guard. I don't think that's a lottery team. So that 2021 draft pick, it isn't as valuable as some people thought. I don't think it's going to be that valuable. I think you're looking at a pick that's probably going to turn into 15, 16, 17, maybe 18 in the first round, depending on how well the Timberwolves play. So I think the Golden State Warriors, they made another steal. They used the pick, and I think that's a great finesse move. We're so used to seeing Minnesota be bad year in and year out. They have a team this year. They're going to go into next year much, much better. And they're making moves to make themselves more competitive as well, especially when I see them bringing a guy like Ricky Rubio to be the point guard of that team. You got D'Angelo Russell at the 2. Karl Anthony Towns at the center position. Anthony Edwards, he's going to be on that wing at the small forward position. I love what they're doing. I love what they're doing over there in Minnesota. We got the Pistons. They agreed to trade Dewayne Dedmon. Dewayne Dedmon was traded from the Hawks for Kyra Thomas and Tony Snell. Again, a very minimal move. I was really upset with the Pistons. I was highly upset with the Pistons. They traded away one of their most promising players, Luke Kennard. They traded away Luke Kennard to the Clippers for essentially another draft pick. That trade absolutely made no sense at all. Luke Kennard is a guy who's still on his rookie deal. played lights out last year. Was one of the brightest spots on your team. And you let this guy go. I mean, and then you let him go to a competitor. I mean, he's instantly gonna make the Clippers better. But Jesus, Pistons, you get an F for making that trade. You did not win that trade at all. JaVale McGee exercises his $4.2 million player option to stay with the Lakers. I kind of knew he would do that. Not much money out there for JaVale McGee on the market, especially being a backup big. I mean, the Lakers, they did good there. I mean, they did good. They were able to keep one of those bigs. We don't know what Dwight Howard's going to do. He may come back, he may not. But either way, they still have JaVale McGee on that roster. Bucks, they waived Ersan Ilyasova. And Ersan Ilyasova was one of the key pieces. He was one of the key pieces to that trade with Bogan Bogdanovic. So the fact that they now have waived him, that lets me know right there that trade has completely fell apart. It's completely fell apart. And the primary reason why this trade fell apart is not why you guys think. The reason why that trade with Bogdanovic, the reason why it fell apart is because they announced that trade before free agency. So anything that's announced publicly like that before free agency, any communication with these players, and we know that they communicated with Bogdanovic. We know that they communicated because Bogdanovic and Giannis Antetokounmpo had already talked. That Bogdanovic wanted to be in Milwaukee. Teams in the league flooded Adam Silver's office with complaints. Said that's absolutely tampering. They're making deals. They're making these deals before free agency hits. That's 100% tampering. And when all of these teams came, the Bucks had to do their best to make this situation look as if they weren't tampering. So I think the damage had already been done once they allowed the details of this trade to get leaked out. And I think it's just a bad look. It's a horribly bad look for the Bucks, because they definitely needed that guy. But they, in all actuality, it was tampering. You cannot talk to free agents, whether they're restricted, whether they're unrestricted. You cannot negotiate any deals until free agency starts. Now, if they would have announced it on the 20th when free agency window opened up, they would have been perfectly fine. But they, unlike the Dennis Schroeder trade. So when the Lakers made that trade for Dennis Schroeder, you're not looking at free agents right there. All right, you're looking at Danny Green, who had a player option, who obviously he exercised that option. And then you're looking at Dennis Schroeder, who's already under contract. These are two players that are already under contract. That was just a trade. Adam Silver opened up the trade window. He opened that up Monday. But as far as talking to free agents, this is why we haven't seen those unrestricted free agents and free agents. We haven't heard any noise from about what these guys are going to do. So other teams in the NBA, man, you got to be careful what you do. There's sharks out there who will really chop that deal down because they knew how lethal the Bucks could have been if they could have got their hands on a guy like Bogan Bogdanovic. But there may still be hope. They may still be able to finesse some type of signing trade to get him over there. But without Ersan Ilyasova being a part of that trade, I don't know if they can pull it off. Surprising move right here. And I think this is a terrible move by the Nets. Nets declined the $5 million option on Garrett Temple. Garrett Temple was one of your best defenders. He was one of your best glue guys. He was one of your best locker rooms. The Nets, you let that go. And you let that go. And I know Garrett Temple, he's not going to go out there and demand a big crazy contract. But see, a guy like Garrett Temple, especially if he puts his eyes on the right team, like a Golden State, who we know they desperately need a veteran shooting guard who can defend and make shots, you're going to allow a vital piece to your team walk away for absolutely nothing. You're allowing Garrett Temple to walk away over $5 million. And all because you guys think and are hoping that you can pull off a trade with James Harden. Terrible decision by the Nets. I absolutely did not agree with that. Garrett Temple was too valuable. I'm curious to see where he lands now, but I think he's headed to a contender. And geez, Nets is. I think that they definitely got to get an F on that move right there. Austin Rivers opts out of his contract to be a free agent. This just tells you the what's going on in Houston. What's going on in Houston can't be good because guys are just getting out of there. They've gotten Robert Covington out of there. The Trevor Ariza that they just received Trevor Ariza. They've already gotten him out of there. Russ wants out. Harden wants out. It's a dumpster fire over there. So Austin Rivers opting out is no surprise. He just definitely does not want to be a part of that toxic atmosphere going into the season. But I think there are teams that need a backup or reserve shooting guard. So there's a market out there for Austin Rivers. On top of the fact that he's a veteran player that can just help you in the locker room. Raptors put off a really good move here. They extend a qualifying offer to Chris Boucher. If you guys don't know Chris Boucher, a couple years ago he was a G League Player of the Year. He came into the NBA kind of quiet, but when he got his opportunities, when there were injuries to Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, he had big games. He quietly had some big games, and the Raptors took note of that. They offered him that qualifying offer. Now, if he signs it, I don't know. Hopefully he does. I would love to see him stay with the Raptors. But if this guy wants to test his value in the open market, I mean, there are some teams out there. That would pay for his talent. So hopefully that qualifying offer from the Raptors was sizable, because I think there's some money for him to go get in free agency if he looks to pursue a bigger deal. Jimmy Butler, multi-year contract. Multi-year shoe deal with Li Ning. Li Ning is just a shoe company out of China that's blowing up. I mean, they signed CJ McCollum from the Blazers. So, you know, they've been dishing out the cash. They actually make a quality shoe. I've actually seen the shoes. I've actually put one on. It's very comparable to any Nike shoe. It's extremely popular over in China. So I think Jimmy Butler made a good move. He didn't go with the state. He could have went with, you know, it would have been much harder for him to go with a Nike, even though he could have. It would have been harder for him to go with Adidas or Pumas. Nobody here in the U.S., they're not saying, oh, let's go to the store and get the Jimmy Butlers. No. Even though he's a great player. But in China, they will be saying that. And I think he chose the right company to maximize his marketability, maximize his value. I think that's a great move, signing with Li Ning, because they are definitely playing these NBA players to represent the shoe brand. Lakers waived Quinn Cook. That was kind of a move that I knew was coming. I mean, when you got Tyler Horton Tucker on the bench, who looked like he was primed to take your spot, when you got when you got young guys on that bench who we know can play, I knew that move was going to be coming, even though his contract was very small. So again, you appreciate what he was able to do with them. Not sure if we're going to see him on any teams this year. I mean, Quinn Cook didn't really do much to impress me. So he may be on his way out the league. He may be headed overseas. I just don't see a market out there for a guy like Quinn Cook, just based on what he showed me last year. Tim Hardaway Jr. exercises his $19 million player option with the Mavs. We knew that. I mean, this is the contract that Tim Hardaway Jr. has. This is the biggest NBA contract that he's going to receive. He got overpaid when he went to New York. He was overpaid. He couldn't live up to being that franchise player with the money that he was being paid. He got traded to the Mavs. Now he's their third best player. I would assume he's the third best player, and he's really just a catch and shoot corner 3-point shooter type of guy. He's a 3-and-D type of guy making all-star money. So he definitely is going to exercise that option. Not sure if the Mavs can actually move that contract. You never know. It's just 1 year left on it, so we may see Tim Hardaway Jr. on the move. But for now, he's with the Mavericks. Knicks, as we spoke about before, Knicks declined the option on Bobby Portis. They waived Taj Gibson and Elfrid Payton. So, not particularly sure what the Knicks are doing over there. When you decline Bobby Portis, when you waive Taj Gibson, your only veteran player, and really the only bright spot on that team last year was Elfrid Payton. I don't understand. I think Elfrid Payton, he's another guy. Will be a sneaky good signing for the Golden State Warriors as a backup point guard. Taj Gibson, obviously, we know he can fit well on any team in the league as a reserve power forward. And Bobby Portis, he's a bit hot-headed. He's made some mistakes in this league. At the end of the day, he's still a great power forward. I wouldn't necessarily say great, but he's a serviceable power forward who can get the job done in the NBA. He will definitely find another job with another team. But Not for that $15 million that was owed to him if the team would have picked up his option right there. But that's what these are all the news and notes. These are all the news and notes for the NBA. Like I said, I expect more. I expect a lot more things to be going down on the 20th. A lot more is going to change. Once Friday hits, and then we're going to see the teams that are really looking to contend and the teams that are just faking. And the Knicks, to me, still look like they're faking. They're still making terrible moves. The Nets, faking to me. Terrible move, declining that option on Garrett Temple, unless they're looking to re-sign him. But that was a terrible move. If he leaves, man, I think, again, they're just bad move after bad move by a lot of these teams. But then there are also some teams just being resilient, taking whatever stones come their way, and they look like they're finding ways to be contenders, like the Warriors, like the Clippers. The Clippers are finding a way to get better, bouncing back. I'm telling you, that signing of Luke Kennard is going to be big. And if they can get Rondo as well, they get an A+ as well for me too. Bolstering that roster without panicking, even though they had every reason in the world to do so. All right, but I mean, the only other information that we got for you guys today is actually non-basketball related. We got some information. Some political information. Obviously we got the Donald Trump situation going on. Donald Trump definitely lost the election. He's running around the United States. He's suing every state that he can. Every state where he thought he would have won, he's trying to sue. He's claiming election fraud. If he didn't win in that state, he's claiming election fraud. Even here in Arizona, he's claiming election fraud out here. I don't know where he's getting all this stuff from. And the person that's heading his campaign for all of this election fraud is his attorney, who's a very integral piece in getting all of these lawsuits, started up in all these states. He's even dedicating some of his own money to funding this effort to sue all of these states to make sure that President Trump doesn't lose the election. But this man doesn't look like he's even fit to be an attorney, man. I want you guys to check out this video from Rudy Giuliani, man. And he has it rough, man. He's definitely stressed. He's got a lot going on. Let's just get to this video, man. It's absolutely crazy.
The election will you be asking that in Georgia, where you have two Senate races to have the U.S. District Court judges?
Look, y'all.
You say there's no evidence.
I really want y'all to pay attention to this, man. Look at this man's face. Now, I'm gonna play this again. I'm gonna zoom in so you guys can see. I'm gonna play it one more time. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see, man. But the man, Rudy Giuliani, he's up here sweating bullets so hard. I mean, obviously we know that Trump's put him in a pressure-packed situation. I don't know if Trump has something over this man, or if he doesn't get this election overturned and put Trump back in office, he maybe has something he can expose him on. But this guy, Rudy Giuliani, they're up here asking him questions about this election fraud and all of this. And the man is sweating so hard that his hair dye is starting to roll down his face on both sides, man. The man, look, check this video. I'm going to zoom in and on you guys, man. Check this out right here, man. This is crazy. The stress that Trump is putting him under.
The election is going to will you be asking that in Georgia, where you have two Senate races to have the U.S. District Court judges?
When you say there's no evidence, Sidney was giving you information that come from affidavits from other people.
Hey, y'all, look at the lady. Look at the lady. Look at the lady. Look at the lady behind. She want to bust out laughing, but if she bust out laughing, she immediately fired. She want to bust out laughing. The man has had hair dye running down his face, and she's just staring at it the whole time. Can't say nothing about it. I would have died laughing, man. I would have fell out. I might have got fired that day. I would have fell off the stage laughing. Or I would have tapped him on his shoulder and said, homie, you got to wipe that off your face. You going to have President Trump looking crazy. Man, but I mean, hold on. Just watch how long she stares at it. She absolutely, I know she left this conference right here and just fell out laughing in her car, man. This is crazy. Why is he sweating so hard?
Look at the ballots. Look. Think about that. 200% of the registered voters.
Why is he sweating so hard? What's going on? Look, it's running down again. Look at his face. It's running down his face again.
The man is a vicious, vicious man.
Look at her. She's just staring at it. She can't say nothing about it. Wow. This is what we got running the country right here. That's what we got running the country, man. We got a guy named President Trump, who is a crazy personality before he was in office. He's been even crazier since he's been in office. His lead man, his attorney that's representing him on all of this mysterious election fraud stuff is sweating bullets so hard on stage, man. The man, his hair dye is just dripping all down the side of his face, man. He's wiping. I ain't never seen nobody wipe that much sweat off your face, man. It can't be that hot because wasn't nobody else wiping sweat off their face. But he's under so much pressure. I don't know what Trump has over this man. Something's going to drop. Some sex tape. Something's going to drop on this man if he don't get President Trump reelected. So Rudy Giuliani, man, we would definitely be praying for you, man. If you want to come to Rudy Giuliani, if you want to come to FYF Sports, man, to speak your piece, to kind of explain what's going on, you know, you always welcome to come to this platform to let us know what's going on with the hair dye situation, because, you know, we just dropped a video on LeBron James, and LeBron James his hair piece was coming off in game, but we also did a video on Carlos Boozer. We might have to plug you with Carlos Boozer. Carlos Boozer played an entire NBA game, and his hair coloring stayed on permanently. It didn't leak down. He's sweating and everything. So we may have to link you up with Carlos Boozer for some of that real hair dye, that real stuff that you spray in your hair, and it don't go nowhere. It's waterproof. That way you don't have yourself on national TV looking like you bleeding out the side of your head or something, because the man looked crazy on stage. You guys, let me know what y'all think about that, because this is what we got running the country. Imagine if you from another country. Imagine if you from another country and you sitting here watching it. How seriously is you taking the United States when the man representing the president of the United States has hair dye running down both sides of his face, man? And you got one of their assistants in the background just cracking up, laughing at him, just staring at the hair dye running down his face, and can't do nothing about it. This is what we got running the United States, y'all. Whew. Man, it's been another great show, man. We updated you on everything NBA related. Hey, today, Friday, the 20th, is gonna be a crazy day. It's going to be a crazy day. Free agency started. Gordon Hayward opted out of his contract. The Knicks are interested. I expect some major moves to be made. Our draft review show is going to be coming out soon. If it doesn't drop tomorrow, it'll drop sometime. But you guys will get that as well. But we got to grade these teams on these moves. Who won, who lost in the draft, and what players do we project to be? You know, what players are we projecting to be all-stars? Like, who's going to be rookie of the year? We're going to hash all of that out in our next live stream when we go live again. But you know how it is. Hey, FYF Sports, man, been another great video. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end, man. Hey, you stick around to the end. If you stuck around this far, man, just hashtag happy holidays. Happy holidays coming up. That's all you got to do. We're going to keep it simple. Hashtag happy holidays. All right, because we got Thanksgiving coming up for all of you who actually celebrate that. We got Christmas coming up. We got the New Year coming up. So that's that shopping season. The holiday season's coming up. Black Friday coming up. We're going to slash all the prices in our merchandise store by 60 or 70%. We're going to open it up for you guys to purchase anything you want for the big time low. So again, hashtag happy holidays. If you stuck around and watched this video to the end, appreciate everybody giving us all the support, man. Salute to everybody that's been a part of this FYF gang from the start. appreciate all of the new subscribers. We appreciate everybody from the Facebook group. We see you guys when you watching in the live streams. I see it when you guys run the numbers up. All right, although you're not there with us, we see you watching all the embedded videos. So salute to you guys. Salute to all the bloggers from the website who watch the videos as well. Again, we appreciate everything you do to make this channel the success it's been so far. But guys, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to the video. All right, hey, but we got more video coming soon. More videos will be dropping. We're going to be running down next week our versus series. Every day of the week next week, we're going to be dropping a versus video. Whether it's Scottie Pippen and Sean Kemp, whether it's Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem, we're going to be dropping all of our versus series. So again, I want to see all the comments get ran up because I want to see what you guys think with this versus series. We got some big time matchups. We got the Bulls and Miami Heat. We got that matchup coming, 2K battle coming soon. So stay tuned. FYF Sports has a lot of great videos coming for you guys. But hey, it's been a great video. But it's FYF Sports. And we out.